Let's talk about the very latest, as he always joins us on Thursday mornings, Mayor John Tory. Good morning.
Hey, Mel.
All right, so let's begin here. We now know the timing of this announcement, and we know a lot of the intricacies of it. There are a lot of frustrated people, and I know you're one of them. I know you're one of them because these are decisions coming from the province. How are you feeling this morning, and how do you reassure Torontonians that this is going to be okay?
Well, my frustration is not at the province, and it's not with the fact that these are very difficult decisions. I mean, think back to the fact that just a couple of months ago, we didn't know anything about variants. They first came out of Britain and other parts of the world, and they came here. And now we have a situation where as you mentioned, the ICU beds are full. We find that much younger people are stricken with this illness much faster. They almost go inevitably straight into the ICU where they're very ill. And the ICUs are as full as they've been in the entire year since the pandemic began. You've got hospitals that are filling up. It's a very desperate situation. And so to those who are angry with politicians, of which I'm one, I guess I would just ask them for a minute to put themselves into the shoes that we're in, and including Premier Ford, who is sitting there with the best medical advice he can get, but with something we've never dealt with before. The variants are basically new again, even a year later. And that the best advice that he's getting is that the way in which you battle this is two weapons. One, distance people having from one another, which requires some degree of restriction on people's daily activities. And secondly, of course, the vaccines. And so it's one of those things where my frustration is just with the sort of inevitability of this coming, but also with the fact that, it is taking an agonizingly long time for us to get through this. But I guess on a hopeful note, I will say that I think we really are we're almost there. And I think if we can go through this 4 weeks and restrict our activity, and then everybody can really gung-ho get signed up to get vaccinated, we are going to have a much better summer than if we didn't do this, if Premier Ford didn't do what he's going to do, and if people don't get vaccinated. We'll have a much better summer if we can get through this period. I honestly believe that.
I think understandably for a lot of people, it's a lot of the back and forth that's frustrating. Hey, hair salons, you can reopen. Probably not going to be happening in this shutdown. So I understand that, and I know a lot of small business owners have been writing in and saying, how do we survive? But that is another story. I do want to ask you about vaccinations, though, and I know there was that push to get it down to 60 plus, because we've seen, there are a number of appointments available. We've seen visuals of, no lineups yesterday at one of these mass clinics. So how long will that process take in that conversation for that portal to say it's okay, 60 plus in Toronto?
Well, because we're on the provincial registration system in Toronto, we have to ask the province to make an adjustment to that system to accept people who are 60 years of age and older as opposed to now 70. And they've given a very positive indication. I spoke with the Premier myself about it yesterday, and I think they're going to probably announce it maybe today if we're lucky. And probably that means we can have it implemented by Friday or Saturday. And so then people could begin booking appointments on Friday and Saturday. And just so people know in advance, if they go online or go by phone, there are appointments available as soon as this weekend, so that those who are in that age group, if it's changed, could go online as soon as the system permits, and that will be what's announced, what time you can go do it, and book themselves an appointment. And then there are appointments out into next week. So I'm just saying to people, it is really, really important as part of the fight, part of getting this over with, is the vaccination as well. We've seen in the long-term care, right now in Ontario, very interesting fact, in the whole of Ontario, there are 10 cases in long-term care, 10. And whereas, before we had 10 in individual long-term care residences. And that shows you the power of the vaccine, is that those residents have all been vaccinated, and you have 10 cases in the entirety of the system across Ontario. So I just hope people will take full advantage of the opportunity to get vaccinated when the age changes down to 60 in the City of Toronto. And it means we've done more than 500,000 vaccination doses already. And that's more than any other city by far in Ontario. But we've got to get that up to 1 million now, and then to 2 million, and then to 3 million.
We need to climb those numbers, that's for sure. I just want to get your take here, just getting this information now when it comes to the Pfizer shot, because everyone wants to know effectiveness, right? So this news saying that the Pfizer shot remains more than 91% effective after 6 months. They just released some long-term follow-up data from that phase 3 trial that the COVID vaccination stopped almost all cases of severe illness. This is really interesting. So, we have a lot of questions when it comes to effectiveness. So there's a lot of vaccine hesitancy, I should say, and for a number of people when we have these conversations. So this is at least something positive here.
Yes, and people should understand that Pfizer is what we're using in the city-run clinics that you'd make an appointment for, but they should also understand something else very, very important. And we had a town hall meeting last night in one of the wards in Scarborough with thousands of people listening in as we all answered questions, Dr. Davila and myself, and I'll repeat something she said. The best vaccine is the one you have in your arm. And she went on to say that any vaccine you get of any of them, is going to be effective in terms of stopping you from getting COVID-19. You have to still follow distancing and so on for a period of time while the antibodies build up. But I myself, for example, as soon as I'm able to on the waiting list, I'm quite prepared to have the AstraZeneca vaccine because it is safe for somebody like me. It is effective. They're all safe and effective, and that's what Dr. Davila has said, and I'm sure she said it here on City, which is that any of those vaccines are good vaccines to have because they will provide you with protection against this virus. So people should understand that, but Pfizer is what they're going to get if they go to a city-run mass immunization clinic.
Okay, that is good to know. 7:13, that does it for my time with you. Thank you very much. Have a great Easter. I'm going to send you over to Dina and Sid.